Dave, we've obviously reached the end of our training camp here in the Netherlands. Just looking back at the last kind of 7 days, how's it been for you?
It's been a really worthwhile trip. The facility was fantastic. Obviously, coming back to the same place we were last year, we were able to make a few improvements to what we experienced last year. Delighted the club were able to put that in place for us, really push the boat on that front, which was great. The facility was fantastic, and it's been a really tough week for the boys, and everything you'd want as a coach has happened in terms of making sure everybody gets fitter, stronger, but comes through the whole week all being fit and well, having got all the work into the players. So it has been a tough week for them. The weather's been better than last year as well, which probably helped. It definitely helped the staff rather than anything else, but it made it tougher for the players as well, which is real beneficial for them as well. So all in all, it's been a really successful week.
Yeah, throughout the week you've had players at different stages of pre-season. Just give us an insight into what that's like from a kind of coaching perspective.
As you say, there's been, by the end of this week, everyone will be pretty similar to where they are now. They had some players that were away on international duty that only had 2 or 3 weeks off. Then obviously the bulk of the players who finished the season who weren't on international duty had nearly 4 or 5 weeks off. So everyone's at slightly different levels. So we almost had 3 groups within that, and just trying to make sure that we were not doing too much too early with the international players especially, and also not overcooking the players that have been here since the start of sort of last week. So as I say, I'm delighted with how that's went so far. We were able to sort of spell the minutes as well, and players got minutes into their legs, and now by the end of this week everybody should be pretty similar, and we're able to push the minutes up now, which will be great. It's been brilliant for the young players because of that as well. I was able to bring a few more young players that maybe wouldn't have done so last season, for example, because of the fact that we needed to fulfil the fixture on the first game on the Wednesday, knowing the international players couldn't play. It was brilliant to see the young players getting opportunities, and they've done really well this week. They can take a lot of confidence from that when they go back to HTC, and then if the players that the end of the week today, obviously the result, everything that goes with that isn't what we wanted, but there was still lots of positives and lots of things to work on still, which is exactly what you want at this stage of the season.
Yeah, I suppose for the young boys, as you kind of touched upon then, it's really good from a club point of view to integrate them with the first team squad.
It is. It's something that I've been at the club a long time, but the history of the football club, bringing young players through, they are the future of the club, and the more you can get through into the first team, the better. There's good examples of it that are playing for us at the moment. Josh Campbell came through the academy. Players that have came through the academy and moved on. It's a massive part of what we do, and the academy product, trying to bring them through and trying to give them as much opportunities as we can, and I think this has been a great exercise for them. They still know the levels, so they have to look at the first team players that have came in today, trying to get up to their levels, but certainly the ones that played even today, Joe McGrath, Logan Jimenez, had fantastic seasons in the under-18s last year, and deserve their opportunity to come and be around the first team and see how they work every single day. And it's been really beneficial for them, and they've certainly not let themselves down. They've done really well, and they're definitely getting fitter and stronger, which is great.
Yeah, throughout the week fans have been watching all the content that we've been putting out. They'll have seen your kind of mic'd up training session as well, but just give them a little bit of an insight into what you wanted to get out of this week through your training sessions.
The idea behind pre-season obviously is to try and get the players as fit as they can be, as strong as they can be, as safely as you can, ready to peak at that first competitive game. Slightly different this year to last year, because obviously last year was my first year as a manager, new staff, new players, turnover of players, whereas this season there's only 2 or 3 new players coming into the group. 2 of the players we already knew, already played in Scotland, I've already spoke to. Obviously Rafa comes in as a goalkeeper, who's done a lot of good work with Sammy and the guys already, which has been brilliant, so they've really integrated really well. So it's not as if we're starting afresh again and having to bed in new ideas. We were able to almost accelerate where we were this time last season and really focus on working on getting the players as fit and strong as you can be, and then working on a few things without the ball that you don't always see in the games, but the work that's been done in the training pitch. But as I say, everything is geared up towards making sure you're as ready as you can be for that first competitive game.
Let's talk about the 2 friendlies then, starting with Duisburg, obviously earlier this week. What did you make of that game, and how important was that in terms of fitness, because there were some boys that were getting 45, 60 and even 90?
That was probably one of the biggest challenges, was trying to manage the minutes, making sure all the players were safe enough to play the amount of minutes that we're going to play, as I've already touched on, because the international players coming back and they weren't going to be ready from a sports science point of view to be throwing them into games, so you don't want to be taking risks at this stage of the season, of course. but you also need to fulfil the fixture, and it was a really good exercise from that point of view. And the heat in the game probably made it even harder for some of the players. Playing it, I don't know exactly what it was, 34, 35 degrees is always a challenge, especially for players that are not used to doing that. We don't get that every week at HTC, that's for sure. So that was another test on the mentality side to it as well. And I think that probably played a part in how the game went. It was a little bit slower than how you maybe expect it to be for a pre-season game. But all the players got lots of minutes into the legs, came through that, and the reflection we got from the players and the data we got off the back of it was they found that really, really tough. But when you see that compared to where they've been previously, the actual numbers weren't as high as they could have been, but that's to do with the conditioning, the weather, but actually the week they've got leading into that. So it's not a normal training game, for example. It's not a game you would prepare for the day before. It was a proper training session, double sessions, triple sessions on certain days. So it is about minutes rather than just looking at the performance. Obviously you're looking out for the outside looking in, you're looking at the result and the performance and you're judging that, whereas we're obviously looking at the bigger picture, which is making sure all the work that's going on every single day, every session, it's never a wasted session, it's all geared up to making sure we keep improving.
And then similarly, the Ajax game today was played at a really high intensity.
Yeah, that was, there's lots of positives to take from that, and obviously the negative side to it, the score line, you can get caught up in that, but when you look at the level of opposition you're playing against, getting punished for mistakes, playing in the wrong areas, there's lots of positive things that happen, but lots of things we need to work on, and it's great that they happened today. But again, I go back to it, it's the first 45 minutes for some players, it was all about 45 minutes in the legs after a real tough week. So what it is today is a real good ending to the week in terms of we got everything out of the players we could have got out of them as safely as we can be. It's been a really tough week for them, and then they've managed to get every player's at least got 45 minutes into the legs, which then puts us in a really strong position that we can extend that and push that now, looking toward Essen on Wednesday night, which will be obviously the next step into pre-season once we get back from here. So really pleased with how the weeks went, and the biggest thing for me is we've got all that work into the players and everyone's came through it safely, which is the most pleasing thing.
Yeah, we'll be obviously flying back to Edinburgh later today, but what are the plans now going into kind of the Essen game and the rest of pre-season, gearing up, like you say, to that first European game?
This pre-season is about getting them as fit as you can be, but everything's geared up to that first competitive game. We knew we needed to have two plans in place effectively, with not knowing when our first competitive game was going to be. So we were ready for that, and we reacted really quickly to that. Straight away they'll go home tonight, there'll be a recovery day tomorrow because they've had, it's almost been 10, 12 days every single day going at it, which has been great. From our point of view, we've got a lot of work into them, but you need that freshness as well. So they'll be off, recovery on Sunday, and then we'll be looking towards Monday, Tuesday with the game again on Wednesday, and then by the end of the week going down to Bournemouth. So we've got some really good pre-season fixtures that have been arranged. There is a variety of different types of opposition, different levels, but also different playing styles, which is, I think, going to be hugely beneficial for us when it comes to European qualification games, because you're playing against teams from different countries, so that'll be hopefully a benefit from us from that point of view. But as we've already seen, even in aspects today, there's still loads of improvement to come. I said that at the back end of last season, the expectations are going to rise for how well we've done last season, but this group needs to keep working hard because there's still lots of improvement to come. And I'm, as I've said, from this point of view, from where we are, I'm really, really happy with where we are.
Absolutely. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.